We are joined on the line by a good friend of mine, Representative Miss Darlene Taylor from District 173 here in Southwest Georgia. Representative Taylor is a member of the Agriculture and Consumer Affairs Committee, a member of the Governmental Affairs and Information and Audits Committee, along with the Insurance Committee, the Public Safety and Homeland Security Committee, the Rules Committee, the Transportation Committee. She's also the Vice Chairman of the Legislative and Congressional Reapportionment Committee and the Chairman of the Subcommittee of Appropriations. Representative Taylor, thank you so very much for making some time for us here today.
Well, good morning. I'm happy to be able to share some time with y'all this morning.
Well, thank you. I'll start by asking first, I hope that you and your family are doing well and staying healthy so far during this COVID-19 pandemic that the world is experiencing.
Oh, we are. We're taking the precautions. We're doing what the leadership is telling us to do. We're listening to the doctors and the professionals. I think that's the best thing everybody can do.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. You being a member of the House of Representatives here in the state of Georgia since 2011, by the way. So you've been there soon be a decade now.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It goes by quickly.
I'm sure. The most recent developments out of our state legislature, I think I saw yesterday, where the state Senate was under a bit of a quarantine after a member of the state Senate tested positive for the COVID-19. Is that applying to the state House as well, or is that just the Senate side?
It is applying to both sides. I think that people are self-quarantining as they need to be doing. We need to be doing this social distancing anyway. Everybody needs to do it. You don't know that you've walked by somebody in the market and tell me there have been too many people in the markets lately. Honestly, we've seen crowds in the stores, and I think that's dying down a little bit now. But yes, the House is looking at the same rules. If you've been exposed, you need to take those precautions to protect the public and yourself and your family.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. So far, the direction coming from the healthcare professionals and those that actually know what they are talking about tends to be wash your hands, social distancing, no large groups. Are we doing enough of that? Do you think we're doing our part, or do you think we need to be doing more?
I think we're off to a good start. I'm still seeing a few people out. I think we are seeing people not in as large a crowds. I know my church, for example, we're watching on TV. We're not going to have services. Why take a chance? And it's not myself that I worry about personally. It would be somebody that I could accidentally infect. And that's what we're trying to do. Make sure that we don't unintentionally subject somebody else to a virus that we're not even aware that we have. That's how this has spread so quickly and so far-fetched. And I think everybody needs to be doing it. And I think people are listening. I'm seeing less people on the road. There's less people in the stores now. There was a big rush earlier this week and last week, and I think that has died down.
I agree 100%. I've watched the traffic slow down each day this week as it seems like more and more people are finding a way to either stay home or limit their travel and being out and about. Now, we talked just a moment ago about the state Senate and the rest of the legislature here in our state currently doing a bit of a self-quarantine if they were exposed this past Monday, when a special session was held to approve the governor's amended budget. I think I have that information correct. That was the purpose of that special session?
Yes, that's correct. That was the purpose of the special session. And I think it was regretful that the senator did show up. Evidently, he had, I'm going by what you hear on the news, that he thought he may have had, an upper respiratory or sinus or maybe something as simple as just our allergies that we all get. But he did have that unintended consequence of having perhaps carried germs there to the House and the Senate.
Well, absolutely. And that goes back to the directives from the healthcare professionals to, just try to stay home as much as you can. The amended budget that the legislature approved and that the governor signed allocated about $100 million, I believe is right, for emergency spending. Is that going to be primarily used for, health departments or other state organizations that are working hard to try to combat this disease?
Yes, that's where it will be used. We need to make sure that we have the supplies necessary in the various health departments. Every community, we have home rule in the state of Georgia, so every community, with the help and guidance of the state, is trying to be supplied. Every community knows their needs. What we need in South Georgia is not what they need in Atlanta. So we have to set things up differently. We're different sizes and different needs within the communities. I can share, they have testing in some places, but you should never go just and ask for a test. You have to have it authorized by a doctor before you go. So they have some test sites set up, but you need to make sure that you are really needing the test. They have more tests available now than they did a week ago. But you need to make sure that you get the approval from your doctor before you just show up to be tested.
Sure. I think that's great advice. Now, as we move forward with this fight against COVID-19, do you foresee any additional steps that the legislature might take? Maybe once the 14-day self-quarantine period is up?
I do. The House has passed out our budget for the next coming fiscal year, the 21 budget. I believe we will get some changes to that, and it will be putting more dollars into our needs for the health departments, into the health care. Rural Georgia is, to me, a worse condition only because we have fewer people, and the necessity for some of the things may not have seemed as great. But this has given us an opportunity to look at it and see we do need to put more dollars in our health care for rural communities. We're working on a number of things. That's, again, a big action that we've had this year, trying to get broadband. For one example of it, our rural communities don't have broadband. They don't have access to the internet from out in the country. Our kids aren't in school. Many places they're able to go online and do their work. I know some of the different communities are making arrangements, temporary at the most. I've heard of some that are actually putting not towers, but the ability to connect to the internet on school buses and taking it out into the rural communities so kids out there can. We're looking for innovative ways to do that. Anything we can do to make sure our kids aren't far behind. We don't want them exposed to anything, but they still have to get their education. So every community is a little different, but we're going to put some dollars into that. We've had it magnified how important it is for us to have the internet.
Absolutely. That's great to hear. Now, I'd like to ask your advice as both a legislator and as a small business owner here in Southwest Georgia for the listening public out there. What advice would you give your constituents besides if you have any, besides the wash your hands and the social distancing model?
Well, I do own a company here in Thomasville, and I have done a lot of pre-thinking. We already had some things in place. We already, quite frankly, had our hand sanitizers throughout the building. I already have several of my employees that telecommute. That's their permanent work. That's how they do it every day. Mm-hmm. So we were ahead of the game as far as that goes. But some of the employees, we are still working. Our office is open. We have doubled down on our cleaning capacity, and we have our cleaning crews come in more often. They wipe everything down. We have staff in the morning. They wipe the doorknobs all over again every morning before anybody comes into the office. We have hand sanitizers all over. Each girl has a workstation, and she is separated by much more than 3 feet. They're individual cubicles, so we're trying not to share meals at the same time, trying to work together. We wipe down anybody that uses a particular, for a phone, for example, it gets wiped down after they use it if it's not their permanent one. And even if it is their work site and their workstation, during the day, throughout the day, we wipe it down also. So we're doing those type of things, telecommuting when necessary. As I said, I have some girls already that are telecommuting, so we were a little ahead of the game for that. But it's very important. Every job fits in our society somewhere and in our economy. We need to make sure that people are still working. They still have to get a paycheck. So that's why we did not close. We're not open to the public. We are limiting who can come in and out of our office. And before you actually can walk in our office, there's hand sanitizer. You have to wash it before the door will even be able to be opened.
Well, that's great to hear. Well, what do you see on the horizon as it relates to this COVID-19? I mean, are we? Somebody explained it yesterday as we were probably in the first inning of this. Do you agree with that, or do you think we're farther?
I do. Okay. I do think we're in the first inning, and I I think right now we've got people on base and we are moving forward. I will tell you some of the exciting things that, I watch the news and I get updates all day long. We have some medications, and I think these pharmaceuticals are going to make a big impact. If we can stop the spread, give this 15 days, and stop the social contact, I think that will make a tremendous difference. And our future will turn around. The stock market's going to come back. What comes down is going to go back up. We know that it will. And I do think that we'll learn from this. Again, we'll emphasize how much more we need to make investment in our rural health care, in our rural broadband. We are going to, as a state, move forward and do these things that need to be done. They should have already been done. And it's been an investment. It's been a lot of things that tied it up. I will share one of the things I'm very excited about is our bills that we passed allowing our EMCs to even be in the business of broadband. Prior to that passage of that bill, they weren't even allowed to be in the business. They were limited by laws what they could do. So we've changed that, and I will share that the first EMC has gone forward and filed papers to be able to deliver broadband. I think we're going to see a lot more activity like that. But again, we're going to, I think, look at our health departments again in some of these very small rural communities. We may use them as a center more broadly for their health care if they don't have other providers. There's a lot of things we're looking at now, a lot closer than we did before.
Well, thank you so very much for that. We appreciate your representation of our district up in Atlanta. I know that you've always got the best interest of your constituents at the forefront of your mind, and I certainly appreciate you making some time for us today, Representative Darlene Taylor, and we appreciate all that you're doing.
Well, thank you very much, and we appreciate y'all, and tell everybody just keep safe, keep their distance, and keep washing those hands.
We'll do it. Thank you so very much, and you stay safe.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.